This is Dr. Kerry Webb coming to you live from the Dallas office of Service Excellence, where we turn learning into earning. Folks, many of you know that I have a PhD in business. Over the last more than a decade of working with contractors, I feel like I've earned a second PhD, this one in plumbing, heating, drain cleaning, and ductwork. But just joking, all kidding aside, I love working with you guys. And today I'm coming to you with a new topic I think will be of interest to you, and that is some business tips on weathering the COVID-19 storm. The last couple of weeks, our team has been working with our clients to brainstorm and implement strategies to keep their business strong and healthy. And I'll be doing a couple more videos after this on how to keep your employees and their families and your customers safe and healthy. And then also how to market and advertise during this time to build your brand, to create more customer loyalty, and to really show your heart for caring for people. But today we will be talking about business tips for weathering this storm. You know, this morning I woke up to quite a storm. The wind was blowing between 30 to 40 miles an hour with some 50-mile-an-hour gust. In fact, it was so loud it woke me up. When I looked out the window, the oak trees were swaying so hard, I actually was afraid the limbs were going to begin to break off the trees. I'm going to say 70 to 80 minutes later, the storm had passed, the sun came out. Right now it's a beautiful day. You'd never know anything like that had happened. Guys, I want you to realize this storm is going to pass. Right now, it may seem like the wind is picking up, and it probably is. Next week or two, it may seem like it's blowing so hard that things are going to break. But I want to tell you, our economy and your business is more resilient than you know. Let's talk. Some of you may remember a movie from a few years ago, War Games, in which Matthew Broderick created a computer software program that somehow took over and tricked the U.S. defense team into thinking that Soviets had launched missiles against us. And in that movie, they had levels of concern. They called them DEFCON levels. Well, I want you to think about this situation in levels similar to DEFCON. Right now, I want to say that most of you guys are probably at level 1. And that level 1 means you're probably getting fewer calls, maybe having a few customers cancel calls or decide they don't want to do maintenance. They don't feel comfortable to have somebody come out to their home right now. Some of my clients are telling me that hasn't happened. They're still scheduling maintenance, running service, having a record March, much better than a year ago. Hey, that's great. You're not even at level 1 yet. But if you are having some of these things happen, let me give you a few tips that will help you to manage your costs, manage your expenses. First thing I'm going to say is it may be time to consider alternate work days. Some of you may have some employees you already have working from home. That's fine, probably smart. But consider this, just because they're working from home doesn't mean they need to be on an 8-hour day. You could have some employees that work in the morning from home, some that work only in the afternoon from home. You could have some that work on alternating days or 2 days on, 2 days off. I want you to think about ways you can reduce your work hours right now for your team and still get the work done. Maybe reducing folks to 30 hours, or in some cases, some companies may even need to go to 20 or 25 hours. That's a strategy you really ought to give thought to. I would encourage you to consider that right now. A second strategy is elective layoffs. Have some clients that have already put that out there and terminated 4, 6, 8 employees. One of my clients told me yesterday I shouldn't say terminate, they laid off 8 employees. Temporary layoffs, many states have already put in place a no waiting period, so they immediately qualify for unemployment. In fact, their state has already put in place that the business can apply for unemployment for employees that they do a temporary layoff. The plan is let these folks come back to work when things pick up, when we have less concern about the virus spreading, when the recovery rate begins to outnumber the infection rate. Some of the Employees who elected this were employees that had a loved one who has an immune system that is at risk. Some of these are employees who themselves have diabetes or maybe other factors that cause them to be at risk. And they feel like it's just better to be at home and protect themselves right now. And then a third strategy for level 1 is some mandatory terminations. Mandatory layoffs or mandatory terminations should be focused on your people with poor performance. And number 1, I would say your employees with poor attitudes. If you have employees with poor attitudes, they haven't bought into your team mindset. Folks, I want to tell you, it's probably not going to get better during this storm. It may get worse. Take this opportunity to lighten your load, reduce your cost, your labor burden, and let those folks go find somewhere else. They can be happier after the storm passes. Now that's level 1. Let's talk about level 2. How will you know that we're moving into level 2? What are some warning signs? Number 1, I think warning signs are when we begin to see essential elective type services reduce their hours. Many states have already mandated bars, restaurants, churches, amusement venues, theaters be closed. We're now starting to see grocery stores reduce their hours of operation. I think that's a warning sign. When we see governors make the announcement that public schools will not reopen, that the school year is done for K through 12, I think you'll know that your state is at level 2. At that point, level 2 suggestions are, number 1, immediately go to some mandatory layoffs. If you did not terminate those employees that are poor performers or have poor attitudes at level 1, level 2, I think almost requires that you consider that because you are going to begin to see a reduction in service calls when we get to level 2. Now, some of the benefits, people at level 2 are going to be mostly at home, putting more demand on their system, whether it's plumbing, electrical, or HVAC, noticing problems that their home has that they really haven't paid attention to or dealt with because they get up, go to work every day, and then they come home tired and they don't want to think about it. Well, if they are going to be at home and have reduced opportunities to get out of the house, I think you're going to eventually see the number of service calls begin to pick back up and hopefully have a significant pickup in service calls. But you may have 2 or 3 weeks, even 4 weeks where things are extremely slow. Lighten your labor load. A second thing you may think about is any of your employees who took elective layoffs or temporary layoffs. Let's say it's a service technician or a salesperson. They can volunteer to go run service calls for you. You could bank their commission for any sales that they make on equipment, IAQ products, etc. And then when they return to work, you could pay them for those sales that occurred. In the meantime, of course, they're getting unemployment. So if they come back and also get some additional commissions, it can make a significant impact for them. For employees who are sick and who use up their paid time off, may also be an opportunity to lay them off so that they can still have some income through unemployment. And also some managers that you have assigned to work from home. You may want to have some temporary layoffs for them. They could still actually continue to do some amount of work to help keep their department going. However, you couldn't pay them for that while they're getting unemployment. But when they do come back to work, some clients are banking 25% of that employee's salary while they're out. And then if they are doing work to maintain their department, they receive that 25% money in pay when they come back on board. So again, some strategies to help your employees maintain income for their living expenses and help you reduce your outgoing expenses, particularly for labor. Let's talk about the final level, level 3. How will you know we're at level 3? And that is when governors give a shelter in place announcements. In other words, we begin to be on home lockdown for a week or so. If that happens, HVAC, electrical, plumbing, those industries, those businesses have already been designated as essential services in counties that are already on shelter in place. They're already at level 3. So I would suggest to you that you will still have calls and opportunities to go out and serve your community, although they may be significantly reduced. At level 3, I'm going to suggest to you that you offer, again, temporary unemployment for more of your employees that you do plan to have come back. You may do 2-week layoffs, 4-week layoffs, 6-week layoffs. You may alternate some layoffs where people can take advantage of getting unemployment, and then when things are better, stagger them coming back to work. And a second thing that you may want to do is, of course, at level 3, have those managers who are working at home be very diligent in helping you manage the labor hours so that you're only paying for the labor that you need. Now, another thing to think about besides the 3 levels is small business SBA loans. The government has announced that they're going to be loosening the requirements for those. It has been discussed. I don't know if the final decision has been made that you may not even be required to get bank approval to get those loans up to a certain amount. And in addition, you may be able to apply directly to the Fed. So some of you may be asking, why should I get that loan? And second, if I get it, what amount should I ask for? Why should you get it? Number one, to have a protection against using up all your surplus cash, to protect your cash flow. And so if you end up in a situation where your outgo is outstripping your revenues, you want to slow down that cash burn. This could be a very good backup plan. And of course, you can pay it back to the government if you don't use it. And then how much should you ask for? I'm going to suggest 3 to 6 months of your operating expenses. That doesn't include cost of goods, because you don't have cost of goods unless actual work takes place. So look at your operating expenses, your below the line expenses, estimate 3 to 6 months. That's probably, a good number to ask for on an SBA loan. Now we'll say this, again, your governors are deciding which counties will qualify for these loans. So if your county isn't listed, contact your governor's office, have a conversation with them, and let them know how you're being impacted by this storm. Now, guys, remember, this too shall pass. Storms come, storms go. Sometimes storms do a lot of damage. Sometimes we're afraid there's going to be a lot of damage, and there's actually not much damage. Don't panic. Your employees are going to take their cues from you. This is a time to have a plan, to let people know you're going to take care of them, to let them know they're not going to lose their house. It's not going to be the end of the world. Guys, it's a time to band together. It may be tough. It will make us stronger. It will make your business stronger. And in the end, your customer loyalty can definitely be stronger. Look for my next couple of videos. Again, glad to come and talk with you today. I'm Kerry Webb with Service Excellence. We are turning learning into earning. Have a great day.